In this episode, we sit down with James Sutton, actor and podcast host. James is more well known for playing the role of John Paul in Hollyoaks. James's character has been through many traumatic experiences throughout the programme. But what impact does this have on James himself? In this episode, we discuss this and much more. This episode is not to be missed. I hope you enjoy it. James, thanks so much for coming on, mate.
It's my pleasure, man.
Where did the love for acting start for yourself?
You'll be shocked to hear that I was quite an annoying child and I had a lot of energy. And my parents separated when I was 6 years old. And my mum suddenly found herself in a situation where she had two small boys at home. And remember we had the 6-week holidays at school. Mm-hmm. She was like, what am I going to do with this child? My local theatre did a summer school every year for, I think it was like a month or 3 weeks or something, where you would go there every day and rehearse a musical and then put it on the main stage at the end. And she sent me to the theatre and was like, just go and burn some energy off, go and annoy them instead of me. And I remember going to the theatre and we did Bugsy Malone was the first thing that I did. And I only had a small part, I was like in the chorus or something. And I remember standing on stage and performing and people were clapping. And I remember thinking, I could get used to this. Like, this is ace. Like, I say something, I do something on stage and all these people process it at the same time and give me immediate feedback. And there's something in that feedback loop that I just found really addictive. And then, yeah, I just took it from there. And then by the time I was 16, I was a member of like 3 different theatre groups. So I was in this kind of cycle of I was constantly rehearsing plays and putting them on, and then I was doing something else, then I was doing a musical, then I got into Shakespeare and I was doing open air Shakespeare in the summer. So I just kind of threw myself into this world without kind of really thinking about it. I didn't have like a plan. I wasn't like, I want to be an actor. It was just, I really enjoyed it, and the opportunities in a small town were actually quite good. There was a significant sort of artistic presence in Stafford. There was Stafford Players and Stafford Youth Theatre and the Shakespeare that I mentioned. So there was lots of opportunities for someone to kind of get involved, and that's what I did. And then I just never stopped. Like, I don't know what else I can do. Like, I've never done anything else. I've been so lucky and so blessed to have managed to turn what was essentially a hobby, you know, for an annoying child into an actual viable career.
Oh, that's amazing. I think it's amazing as well how you recognised the feedback loop at such a young age.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't at the time. It's only in hindsight.
But reflection.
Yeah.
You can see that was the thing that you enjoyed and the thing that motivated you to continue with the acting. So you really fell into it around 16.
That was when I think that was when I started to take it seriously, because I think you get to, I mean, you know yourself, you get to sort of 16, 17, 18, and all of a sudden you start to think, right, what am I going to do? Like, you know, all your friends are thinking, you know, I'm going to be a police officer, or I'm going to, you know, take over my dad's company, or whatever it is. And I'm thinking, right, what, like, I'm not really interested in mathematics or, you know, legal work or anything like that. And I'm like, well, this is what I enjoy. And look, you know, I think most people, maybe not hate their jobs, but most people do their job because it funds their lifestyle and it pays their mortgage. And I think if you are lucky enough to get up in the morning and do something you enjoy, you're luckier than most people, you know. And I have to stop myself sometimes. You know, I'm on set and it's cold and it's raining and we're filming outside, and you know, someone's taking a long time to set the lights up or whatever, and you find yourself moaning, and you think, you have to kind of check yourself, be like, hang on a second, hang on. Like, I get paid to do this. Like, I am so lucky, I'm so privileged to do the job that I enjoy, and I don't take that for granted at all.
Do you think that came, what you've just said there about remembering where you are and what you're doing and the gratitude for the job that you have, was that something that you always had, or was it something that as you've grown older and you've matured, you've sort of realised that you are doing something that you love every day, and sometimes it's like no, stop moaning. Like I actually love this. Is that something that's always been there, or is that something that's come with time?
I think the bits when I'm actually on set and I'm acting, that's what I love. I love this space here. I love working with actors who pass the ball back to you. Do you know what I mean when I say that? I love having that connection with an actor and that playfulness and that ability to take a script or a scene or a scenario, a situation, and turn it into something tangible and real that might have an impact on an audience. I'm a storyteller. I love telling stories.
You can see that.
Yeah, so definitely. that's love the sound of my own voice. So I love that part of it. It's all the stuff that goes around the job. As I say, it's the waiting around. There's a lot of waiting around in my game. There's a lot of admin to do with it. You know, I'm self-employed. I'm a freelance actor by trade. So there's a lot of things outside of the actual performance. And it's only as you get older that those are the things that kind of annoy you a little bit more.
Right.
But you have to check yourself and go, no, I do all of this other stuff to facilitate the really fun part of my life, which, as I say, is the bit when I'm on set looking at another actor and we're throwing ideas around and you're going, right, if you say that line like that, then I can do that, and then you can do that. And all of a sudden, a scene that perhaps on paper didn't look that interesting has taken on this whole new life, and you're making something that feels really exciting and new and interesting. And it's all that. That's that playfulness. That's what I really enjoy.
Yeah, I can see that. I bet it's fascinating. I've always, I've watched Hollyoaks from time to time growing up, and obviously seen your character for many, many years. So to hear you speak about how it all comes together, I think as a viewer watching the television, you don't actually realise how much goes into a scene and the theatrics and the thoughts behind it and the conversations you might have with the person that you are doing the scene with. Talk me through then from getting your script for, say, a certain episode, how much time goes into each scene per se, and then doing the scene, and then it actually going on television?
So you have to understand that there's no beginning and there's a beginning, but there's no end to Hollyoaks. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
These continuing dramas just keep going. So where an audience are only watching a scene or an episode, we as the artists and the writers and the storylines and the producers are dealing with this whole journey that's going on into the future. So we as actors, when we get our scripts, what I do is I take all of my scenes out of a script. So I've got a folder, I've got a file that contains all my scenes for a particular, we do them in blocks of 3 now per week with a different director. So I might have, say, 12 episodes in my folder at one time, all my scenes. So I know from my character, I know my journey. I know that I'm here at the moment emotionally. That's where my character is. Emotionally, that's what he's going through. That's the issues that he's dealing with. And I know I've got to get there. So I've got to plot my own interesting journey to get to there, right? So I've got my little beats, my little story beats. So for example, there might be a scene where James and Tom are sat in a studio and something really, really emotional happens, right? I've got to pitch my performance so that I'm not just thinking about that scene, I'm thinking about where that's going to take me. And the actor that I'm working with is also doing the same thing. The really interesting part is where we come together. How do we balance our performances to make this scene work? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So it becomes, it's a much broader, you're looking at it through a much broader lens rather than it just being a scene.
It's not one dynamic, is it?
Exactly.
Multi.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas if, say, you were doing a play, for example, that's much more clinical in that you know exactly that the journey is written out for you.
Right.
So every character knows exactly where they are, what their circumstances are, what their journey is, where they've been, where they're going, their relationships. Whereas something like a soap opera, like a continuing drama like Hollyoaks or EastEnders or whatever, it's constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. Your character's always evolving through their experiences with other characters. So John Paul, the character that I play, has been through some pretty traumatic stuff. He was a victim of male rape, which changed his character arguably forever. He was in an abusive relationship. Again, that changed his character forever. He's now an alcoholic. So I've got all these new little nuances to play with. What does that do to my character? How does that affect him?
Does that ever, being so invested in the program for such a long period of time, does playing that character ever have an effect on you personally?
Oh, yeah.
Being that person?
Yeah, massively. Yeah. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's absolutely exhausting. When you're acting is a really personal thing, you feel very, very vulnerable. Which is why when you walk onto a set that is very safe and everyone is really reassuring and wants the best work to happen, they create an environment that you are free to express yourself. When you're dealing with really heavy material all day, let's take the male rape storyline, for example. I did so much research for that storyline. We take our work very, very seriously. We have a big responsibility, first and foremost. We have a responsibility not only to our viewers and to the program, but to the real life victims and survivors of these things. So we have to take it really seriously. And because it's a very personal thing, there's no way that you could do all the research and invest all the time to try and get the truth out of a situation in a script without it affecting you. Yeah. There's just no way of doing that. So you do take that all on board. And then when you get to set and you're filming all day and it's really heavy material and you're crying and you're emotional and, you know, you get home of an evening and you're just completely wiped out. I mean, completely wiped out. It's a lot. But there's real satisfaction to be drawn from knowing that you've given absolutely everything. You've really gone there. You've invested your own emotion and your own physicality into the work that you're doing. You know, there's a real sense of achievement in that. You know, I did my best. If you go home at the end of the day, in any walk of life, but especially something like this, which is a vocation, a theatrical work, I did my best. I gave everything. I gave a good account of myself. I think I hit all the story beats in the right order. That's a lovely, lovely place to be.
I can imagine from yourself and from probably many, many other actors as well, if you'd have not got into the character emotionally and have that vulnerability, it probably wouldn't come across as authentic and genuine watching the programme. So if you don't do all that in the background and you don't get home at the end of the day and you're absolutely drained and your energy's gone and you've not put everything into every single little bit of that scene, it's not going to come across how you want it to come across on the programme.
Exactly. It's that you used the word authenticity there, and that's absolutely what we're looking for. We're trying to find the truth in any situation. We're trying to hold a mirror up so that people can see, you know, the truth in a situation, and you lend parts of yourself to the character in the situation. There are parts of John Paul, the character that I play, there are parts of his behaviour and how he reacts to things that are very similar to how I react to things.
Right.
And very similar ways that I might react to stimuli to a situation. And that's how you find the authenticity. You create the character, you work hard on the character, the situation, the relationships, the previous circumstances are really important. Who am I? Where have I been? What am I into? What are my hobbies? How does he hold himself? How does he walk? How does he sit? All of that stuff. You do all that work, you put that to one side, you trust that you've done that work, and then you can get into the real material. And then it becomes a case of, right, lending parts of myself to it and thinking about the whole story. And also, you know, when you're working with when we have some fantastic actors on the show, I mean, really, we really do. I've been very, very lucky in my career, not just on Hollyoaks, I've worked with some fantastic actors. When you're working with a brilliant actor, it's they're very, very giving people. if we're in a scene together, it's my job to make you look good and your job to make me look good, right? If you're working with a selfish actor who only cares about his own performance, who's so in his own head about what he's doing, that actually it doesn't really matter what you do with your performance. We're not bouncing off each other. But if I am trying to stimulate you, if I'm presenting the dialogue and the text and the situation and the emotion in a way that's going to draw a reaction out of you, and you're doing the same thing to me, all of a sudden the scene has taken on this whole new life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's when I think it becomes really exciting, when you're both trying to get the best out of the person that you're working with.
I can imagine there's the highs and the lows within, especially Hollyoaks. If you come across a certain actor and you get that synergy, you get that energy, and it's amazing. But then equally, I can understand that you probably had certain scenes where you found it really difficult to. And then, do you ever watch the episode back?
No.
Right.
No.
No.
I don't really feel any benefit to watching myself back anymore. I used to. I think when you're training as an actor and when you're learning, I think it's really, really vital. I think it's really important to see how you pitched things and to go, that didn't work. Because that's the beauty of working on a show like Hollyoaks is you can try things out. You can make mistakes. It doesn't have to be perfect because there's a new episode tomorrow. You know, that's...
Is it daily, Hollyoaks?
Pretty much, yeah. I think we're 3 episodes a week now. We were 5, now we're 3. They had some budget cuts and various things. But essentially, there's a new episode coming up almost immediately. So that's a lovely opportunity to try things out. Right, I'm going to try something different in this scene. If it doesn't work, I won't do it again. Yeah. And certainly as a young actor coming up and learning, that's a space that you want to occupy. You're never going to be perfect. It's never going to be the best performance in the world ever. And it kind of doesn't have to be. As I said, as long as you're doing your best and you're doing the work and the research and putting your heart and your emotion into what you're doing and committing to what, really committing to the work, people forgive a lot. I've done some terrible performances in my life. I've done some awful work. We all have. It's a learning experience, but I'm very, I feel quite safe now. I know how I work. I know where my strengths lie. I know where my weaknesses are. I know what I can get away with. I know how to pitch a scene. I know what's too much and what's not enough. And I mean that in the level of the performance. So all of those things come into play, and the more experienced you are and the longer you've been doing it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, I can imagine. How do you deal with the days where you've had a really traumatic scene, or the scene that you are portraying is traumatic? For example, the rape incident that you had to act, and it took all your energy out of it. From a mindset perspective, how do you deal with those days? How do you deal with the days after that when you're feeling wiped out, like you've got no energy? It's
really difficult because it's kind of out of your control. I can't control what the schedule is going to be like. So if I've had a full day of really deep emotional work, and then I check the schedule for tomorrow and it's another day of really deep emotional work, you have to look after yourself in the best way. And that means eating right, getting enough sleep. Sleep is the most important thing. I mean, I know you've spoken to guests before about the benefits of, having a proper sleep schedule and the impact that has on our lives. If you think of yourself as, it's very similar to being a professional sportsman, I think, being an actor, in many aspects, actually. The demands on your body and your mind are a lot. So you have to give yourself the best opportunity. When I was younger, I'd finish a day on set and we'd go to the pub, and we'd get pissed and we'd have late nights and I'd get up and just go to work. And when you're younger, the beauty of youth, the naivety, I could do that.
You could go on a night out and then go to work the next day and everything's fine.
Honestly, back in the day, we were terrible. We were awful. But now it's a much more it's about finding that balance, I think, and giving yourself the best opportunity, and that means eating well, sleeping properly. I love to go to the gym. I have I have to go to the gym. It gives me sense of clarity and peace and mindfulness. Just that hour and a half in the gym where I don't think about what I'm doing that day. I'm not thinking about the scenes I'm about to perform. Nothing. That mindfulness and that clarity that you get from just dealing with these weights that I'm dealing with. You know, I can't think about I can't be anxious about the scenes that I'm about to perform or whatever else I've got going on, because I've got this barbell on top of me, and if I worry too much, it's going to kill me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that, and that's really important. Just kind of basic principles, really. As I say, giving yourself the best opportunity to give the best performance.
I love that, because Tom's talks, the coaching, mindset, everything that I talk about as a brand, as an individual, is all about mindset, habits, life systems. And it applies to every industry, to every single person, whether you're a top athlete or whether you're a top actor or whatever industry that's in. If you look after those three things, then you will excel in whichever area of your life it is that you want to push.
Yeah.
And I always say, I read it from Atomic Habits, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the depth of your habits. So if you look after yourself physically and mentally, you know, gratitude, meditation, going to the gym, exercise, hydration, nutrition, etc., that you have much more energy, you have much more resilience. So on the days when you're doing a really deep, intense emotional scene, rather than falling all the way down there, you fall in here and then you get back on the saddle and you can continue the next day and, you know, do whatever it is that you need to do.
Absolutely. And I think as we get older as well, I think you mentioned routine there, and I think that's a really, really big one. It sounds really boring, but having a nighttime routine and having a morning routine is the most important thing. If you have a really good morning routine and a good nighttime routine, you might start your day. If you think of your emotional, if you think of your mood and your mental state as a rolling scale from 0 to 10. If you have a good routine in the evening and the morning, and you start your day at, say, an 8, and you have a really tough day, your mood might go down to a 5, right? That's manageable. If you start your day at a 6, your mood might go down to a 1. That's unmanageable. And that's when problems start arising. So it's about giving yourself the best opportunity. It's about it's about caring for yourself, you know?
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always think, I read something, I can't remember, not Atomic Habits, but one of those really kind of successful books that was talking about how instead of aiming to be that person, we have this image of ourselves as this successful, in my eye, you know, this successful actor who's got a successful podcast and comes on other people's shows and has a really great time and lives this life. Instead of looking into the future and going, that's what I want to be, live that life now. Be that guy right now. There's nothing stopping you. You know, we can reinvent ourselves all the time, you know? I used to drink loads and you know, use drugs and party all the time. I don't do that anymore. It's fine to say that. I just don't do that anymore. That's totally valid. And we get too caught up in this image that we present of ourselves, but we can reinvent ourselves all the time. We should do. And in a really, really positive way.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And going back to the morning routine, something that I speak quite often about is and you know, you're probably aware of this, you have so many stresses. There's only so many times you can feel stressed or agitated in the day. And if you think about when you first wake up in the morning, your alarm, nobody wants that alarm noise. So then if you go on, so let's just say you've got 10 stresses in a day. I'll call it 20, for example. You've got 20 stresses in a day, and going back to your mood, if you've got 20 stresses, your mood is equal to 10 out of 10. And then your alarm goes off, and then you snooze it, and then you snooze it again. You've lost 3 or 4. You then wake up, and then you go on your phone, you check your emails. You've had a shitty email from somebody. instantly in a bad mood. That's another stressor. You then go on social media, compare yourself to everybody on there, and then thinking, fucking hell, why is my life not like that? That's another stressor. And then before you know it, you're 20 minutes late because you've just wasted it scrolling on your phone. That's another stressor. By the time you've even got out of bed, you've lost all this energy. And then you, like you said, going from potential 8, you're starting at a 5 just by doing all these minuscule bad habits that accumulate to this overwhelming energy. Yeah. Whereas if you replace that by, not going on your phone, avoiding it like the plague, writing things that you're grateful for down, going to the gym, cold water therapy, all these really positive habits that we know benefit us so much, you're leaving the house at a 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I think nighttime routine's as important as morning routine. I think nighttime routine often gets forgotten because we've had a long day and we've dealt with lots of different things, and we're tired and maybe a bit grumpy and a bit hungry and all that kind of stuff. But your nighttime routine, I would argue, is more important than your morning routine. Get yourself set the night before. Figure out exactly what it is you've got to do. Plan, write down exactly what you've got the next day, so you've got it clear in your mind. And then I think you'll get a better night's sleep because you're not anxious and worried about what you've got to do. I did it last night. I'm here now talking to you. I've got to go back to Liverpool. I've got to record my own podcast. Then I'm going to meet some friends and watch the football. Then I'm doing a football podcast where I'm talking about the game. I've got a lot of the sound of my own voice today.
I love it.
Honestly, you think you've got it bad. I have to listen to this shit all day. But it's that nighttime routine has enabled me this morning. My alarm went off at 5 o'clock and I just got straight out of bed. I just got out of bed at 5 o'clock.
And you slept much better last night.
I slept much better last night. There is a flip side to what you're saying though. And this is something that I think is coming more and more to the forefront, and I think is something that we need to be aware of, is that all of these healthy practices, cold water therapy, mindfulness, gratitude, writing a gratitude journal, meditation, these are all brilliant practices, right? However, if you go on TikTok or Instagram, there is a barrage of this coming at you.
Barrage of information.
All these guys sitting in cars with their phones, shouting at you, going, you need to do a cold plunge and you need to go to the gym and you need to do this. If you're someone who is struggling with their mental health, that is not helpful. We have to find our own thing and we have to find what works for us. And I feel like a lot of these conversations around good practices, and they are good practices and they work for me. I have a gratitude journal. I practice these things. I go to the gym every day. But I don't meditate. I tried it. I can't.
Didn't work for you.
I can't do it. I just can't. I can't find that peace. So that doesn't work for me. So you have to find what works for you. And I think there's a danger that we are trying to
do everything.
And for a lot of young men right now who are suffering, they have mental health problems, they're struggling, their finances aren't great, their relationships aren't great, their career isn't going the way they are. They go on social media and they've got some guy shouting at them, why aren't you in an ice bath and all this sort of stuff. It's too much. I think we have to be cautious, in how we deliver this information, because yes, it is really positive, but there is a flip side.
I agree 100%. And I think I've been guilty of it in the past. When I was starting on this journey and I was trying all these different habits, like, do this, do that. But now I feel like I rephrase it in a way where I said, I did this. I did this thing. It made me feel really good. If you are struggling, give it a go. If it doesn't work, then no harm done.
I think that's really important, is find what works for you. Find your, Dwayne Johnson, the Rock, he talks about having an anchor. He talks about his anchor, and his anchor is going to the gym every day. That's the thing that keeps him grounded, keeps him anchored, and allows him to have his really successful, busy career. And I think it's finding your anchor, it's finding what works for you, rather than what works for everybody.
Definitely. The coaching I do, the one-to-one mindset coaching, I'll discuss these different habits, and I'll say to them, in the first week or so, just saying like, you're not going to find your routine this week.
No.
You're going to try things, you're going to hate it, you're going to do certain things, you're going to see the benefits. I'm not here to say, do this in this schedule. I'm here to give you guidance and advice and let you find your own way and find the routine that works for you. I'm just explaining what has helped me. But another thing as well, which again, with all this barrage of information, I feel like sometimes you wake up in the morning, you're like, what do I do first?
Yeah. I agree.
I've got the gym, I've got gratitude, I've got cold water therapy, I've got this, I've got that. Like, you're like, what do I do first? And in that respect, and again, something while I've been on my journey is like, I wake up and I'm like, shit, what do I do first? So I always just pick one thing every morning. I do that one thing, and then it's like the habit stacking from there. That one thing becomes the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. And then that's really helped me in my morning. And I think we mentioned about ADHD in the morning, like my mind is just going. So like to just focus on that one thing, that's really helpful. Is that something similar for yourself?
Yeah. The gym is my non-negotiable.
Is that so you get up and you go straight to the gym?
That's my non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Regardless of anything else, I actually do my gratitude the night before now.
Right.
I don't tend to do it in the morning because I'm up and there's
Trying to crack on.
There's things to do. So I tend to do it retrospectively the night before, as opposed to doing it looking forward, which seems to kind of work for me.
Yeah. And that's the thing though, sorry to interrupt you.
No.
That works for you. I do it in the morning, you do it in the evening.
Exactly.
You're doing great, I'm doing great. That's the important message here.
Yeah, 100%. Find what works for you. Because there's so much pressure on men right now. Through a lot of it through social media and through podcasts, there is an awful lot of pressure on men, I think. There's this whole kind of thing at the moment about wealth. There's a huge push for young men to be wealthy by the time they're 25. Why aren't you a millionaire? Why the fuck aren't you a millionaire? You're 25.
Yeah.
What's keeping you? Come on, chop. It's like, that's bullshit. That's really unhelpful. We're putting an inordinate amount of pressure on our young men in a world that's already full of pressure. And that, I think, is a real concern. And a lot of that, as I say, is perpetuated through things like TikTok and platforms like that, where you have these guys who are pictured with a Lamborghini and a big house and a beautiful girlfriend and a successful YouTube channel or whatever. And people don't see what they had to do to achieve that. And also a lot of it's fake. They've hired that Lamborghini and that's not the girlfriend. Do you know what I mean? I think we have to be really, really careful. Look, I think ultimately, it comes down to what you're looking for out of this life. And as I get older and I hasten to say wiser, what makes you happy? What makes you happy? It's not about leaving a legacy. It's not about earning money. It's not about living this extravagant lifestyle. It's about getting up in the morning and being happy and grateful and looking forward to the day ahead. That's what you want to aim for. You want to aim to get up in the morning and be like, right, what are we doing today? What am I doing today? I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to do that. Yeah. That's the ideal. When people talk about what's your ambition in life, it's to have happiness every day, inner peace and happiness. You want financial, spiritual, emotional peace, and you want a reason every day to get up and be happy and excited about. I mean, like you get to get up and you run a business. You've got a company with your family business. Amazing. That gives you a sense of there's like a solid foundation there where you're like, right, we are a team and we do this and there's furniture and all this kind of stuff. But then you also get to stimulate the other side of you, arguably the most important side, with the public speaking and the one-on-one stuff and the podcast and making a tangible difference. And that gives you a reason in the morning to get up and go, right, let's have it. Because that's what most people are looking for. The alternative is you get up in the morning and you just look at the day ahead and think, I just can't be arsed. And that's why more men are killing themselves than ever before, because they haven't got anything to look forward to and they haven't got anything to be excited about.
100%, mate. And I think, just to go back slightly on that, I think a lot of men feel really overwhelmed because they feel like they should know what it is that they want to do. They feel like they should have this overwhelming purpose and action and everything like that. But just take the family business, for example. We sell school furniture. It's not the most riveting thing in the world, but I fell in love with it. Like, I started working for my dad at 19, and instantly I was shadowing my dad and I was going out with him for the day, and I loved watching him have these conversations with people and build these relationships. And then obviously the furniture is an element of it, but it was the people that we work with, the customers, the clients, the manufacturers. It was the whole process of running a business, and I fell in love with that. If you'd have told me at 16 when I just left school that 15 years later you're going to be running a furniture company, I'd have told you I'm mad. I said, furniture? I'm going to be this A-star celebrity, but I'm not selling furniture. But there's just the process that's happened. And I think a lot of young lads, especially like you said with social media and TikTok, there's this pressure to be this millionaire YouTuber, this TikToker, this social media influencer. And that's just not how it is. Like, most people find their passion from starting a thing, doing a thing, and falling in love with a thing. Not thinking I want to be a YouTuber or a TikToker. It's just.
Well, what does success look like? Let's go back even further. What does success look like? So, is success having a 6-figure salary, right? Okay, cool. You can pursue that. Yeah. That's achievable. I would argue that success is finding something that you love. That's true success. And actually, if you find something, if you're a young man listening to this and you are wondering where you fit into the world and what your career path is going to be, what are you interested in? What turns you on? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What are you fascinated by? Pursue that thing, because that's where you're going to find happiness. And actually, there's a really good chance if you love something and you put hard work and effort into it, there's a really good chance that you might get that 6-figure salary and you might get that success, but it'll be as a byproduct of doing something that you love. Yeah. That is what we should be teaching our young people.
1,000,000%. I was going to say it's the byproduct, isn't it? So setting goals. Obviously, I'm a massive advocate of setting goals. And when I was younger, so like when I was 21, 22, I was like, I want to earn 100 grand this year. And I would focus on the 100 grand. And then it never happened. Yeah. And then as I got older and wiser, and I started working on myself, I started to realize that it's not the 100,000 or whatever, it's the doing the thing. Do the thing, and then everything else comes positively as a byproduct.
Yeah, it should be the perfume of success.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think the other challenge that young people have, especially men, is that through social media, we see the tip of the iceberg. We see that instantly. And then some people, a lot of people, will start a thing, and when it doesn't happen after a month, they quit. And it's like, it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, but you're not doing it for the right reasons, though.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing something that you enjoy and you're passionate about, it could be anything. Yeah. It could be...
It doesn't matter how long it takes.
Exactly. It could be horticulture. It could be studying, rocks. It could be, looking at fish in the sea, or whatever it is that you're interested in, sports science, or, whatever it is that you're interested in. That's the thing that you should pursue, not what you see on social media, because most of the time it's fake. I'm as guilty of that as anyone. So are you. We only show that little side of 100%. Ourselves. If you look on my Instagram, the majority of those photos are of me smiling. I tell you what, I wasn't happy at all through a lot of those times. You wouldn't know it from looking at my social media. You think this guy leads a great life. Look at him with his TV job and his podcast and his going out with his famous friends or whatever it is, going to the football. He's at Anfield again. Honestly, the amount of times that I have been in the pit of abject despair and I've gone, it's bullshit.
1,000,000%, mate. And that's the main problem I find with social media, is that everybody looks happy all the time. And as you're very much aware, the rates for suicide and depression in men especially are at an all-time high. And for men and for women, we look on social media and then we feel that we have this expectation that we should be happy all the time, when in reality that's not life. Life is up and down, challenges, adversity, trauma. But when you constantly have that pressure and that expectation that you should be happy all the time, it just makes you even more miserable.
Yeah, it really does. And it doesn't harbour real connection either. That's what I think we've lost. Social media has done wonderful things for the world. It's enabled this to happen. Yeah. This wouldn't be happening without social media. I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have followed your work and been and been interested enough to come and chat to you. But what it has done is it's made those connections with people just so transparent and fake, for want of a better word. I think back, I'm of a generation, I'm the last generation that remembers the time before social media. I'm 41. I grew up without Instagram, TikTok. I mean, MySpace came out when I was 15. I had a MySpace page. That was the first kind of online connections that I was making. And it was very wholesome and very nice.
Because it was people that you knew, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was friends that you knew and musicians that you were interested in, unsigned bands and things like that. It just felt like a much happier place. But now, unfortunately, it's progress, isn't it? If you want that wealth of information and you want to see what people are up to, and some of it's beneficial, you have to understand that with that comes all the bullshit and all the fakery and all the pressure that come, that especially for our young men. I stumbled on sort of trading TikTok, and it's all these young men who are bragging that they've made, millions doing this. And I'm like, if you'd made millions trading crypto, you wouldn't be on TikTok talking about it. You'd be out there enjoying the fruits of your labor and turning that into a business. You wouldn't be on TikTok offering advice. So there's like a financial pressure on our young men as well that,
If you're not a millionaire by 25, what have you even done? Yeah.
Exactly. And it's really worrying,
Just a quick one. Most of you watching this episode aren't yet subscribed. So if you want your weekly motivation from some incredible guests, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn your notifications on. Going back to Hollyoaks, what was your most enjoyable episode?
Oh, that's
What was your happiest time in Hollyoaks?
That's a really good question. My happiest time and my best episode are two different things, I would say. My happiest time on Hollyoaks was probably sort of 2009, 2010, I would say. The show was doing incredibly well, great numbers, winning awards. There was a real desire for the show. I mean, we still have a great audience and we still make incredible content, really important. Hollyoaks is a really important show. I should add that. But back then it was a really exciting time for the show. It had just gone from strength to strength. Everybody was watching it. It was a really great time and the cast were fantastic. And I was put in this family, the McQueen family, and it was just these big personalities, really, really funny material. We were all together all the time in this little sort of council house set. And it felt like we were kind of making our own program sometimes because we were all together all the time. So we didn't really kind of fit in with a lot of what was going on, some of the really heavy stuff. We were just making our own kind of show. It was just wonderful. What a time to be alive. My favorite episode, the episode after John Paul was raped, I got the script through and I had not a lot of dialogue, but a fair amount of dialogue because he had to go to a SARC clinic, which is a sexual assault referral clinic, to be examined and to be spoken to. And a doctor wanted to, a professional wanted to sit him down and talk to him about what had happened and kind of help to process it. And I remember I had a conversation with my exec, and I said, I don't want to speak. I said, I think we should cut all of my dialogue. I want John Paul to be completely silent throughout the whole episode so that we, the audience, are inside his head. And he agreed. So we removed all the dialogue. So I spent the entire episode completely silent. And I think it was really powerful, actually, because you saw him go from literally picking himself up off the floor, having been assaulted, and kind of dusting himself down. And then you're kind of in his head and his thoughts as he's kind of walking around and trying to get home, and he bumps into people. And it was a very, I felt we got a level of emotion through that, not just from me, but from the whole episode that we wouldn't have got ordinarily had he spoke.
I can imagine how powerful that was.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that storyline. I'm really proud. I'm really proud to have been a part of Hollyoaks, if I'm being honest. I mean, I know sometimes, you know, in some people turn their nose up at the show. But actually what it does is it serves an incredible purpose because our demographic is quite young for the most part. So I think it's sort of 13 to 30-ish, I think. We have a big responsibility that we take very, very seriously. We have big issue-based storylines that educate and really help people, actually. And then we do really, really silly stuff. We sit in a really nice area, so it's a really lovely show to be part of. I'm really proud of it.
No, definitely, I can imagine, mate. It's I've watched it. I think it's a great program, and I've seen your character so many times. How did you find playing that character? How did you find, with it being a homosexual character? How was that? How was playing that character for that amount of time?
Just like kissing a hairy woman. No, look, I'm very lucky, and I don't think it would happen nowadays that a straight actor would be cast in such a high-profile gay role.
Yeah.
I don't think that would happen, and I think it's right that that wouldn't happen. I think it's very, very important that representation for LGBTQ plus people is at the forefront of our minds when we're casting these parts. I think it's really, really important. Back then, it wasn't so much. Actually, my character was straight when he arrived, and we did a whole kind of coming out storyline, him coming to terms with feelings for his best friend, and I know that made a huge difference in the world. I know it did. I've read the letters, I've had the emails from people, that it made a tangible difference in people's lives, because for the first time, young men, boys, 15, 16, were sat at home with their, parents and grandparents, and they were watching this gay love story take place on screen, and they were thinking, that's me. That's how I feel. Oh my God. So it gave people a voice, and it gave them something to reflect and a sense of like solidarity, I guess. In terms of playing the character, look, my only all I care about is the truth. I want to bring as much truth to the part as I can, and as much authenticity, and the physical stuff, the kissing scenes and all that. I'm an actor. It's my job. It's what I do. Or as I say, I can't come at those scenes from a straight man perspective, because I know that there's going to be people watching it who are waiting for me to fuck up. They're waiting for it to look unrealistic and look like I'm not into it. So I have to be into it. I am playing a character who wants to kiss that guy. Right, let's go for it. Let's make it as realistic as we possibly can, because that's my only, sort of issue really, is with the truth.
And I think that's the credit to you as a person and your professionalism as an actor, that it's set aside and you just want to be the best possible actor, create the best possible scene.
Yeah. And be an advocate.
Yeah.
I'm an ally. I'm an ally. I care deeply about the LGBTQ plus community, especially in this country. And I don't think having played the character that I've played for as long as I've played him, that I couldn't not.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me. And I take it very seriously. It's a big responsibility. And I'd like to think that I haven't let anybody down during my time.
And I can imagine that the LGBTQ plus community are very thankful for the way that you have played that part, and and portrayed it, and done the amazing job that you have done.
I think so.
What was the age that you started at Hollyoaks?
I was 24, I think, but I looked about 15.
So you've gone through this almost 17.
Yeah, I've left and come back twice though. I went to Emmerdale for a couple of years. Cheated on Hollyoaks, which was brilliant. And I left again and did loads of theatre, which is kind of my kind of real passion as far as acting goes. I'm still a thespian at heart.
What was the experience like on Emmerdale?
Yeah, great, amazing. Yeah, just the most beautiful people.
What was the part that you played in that program?
I played a mechanic called Ryan Lamb who fell in love with his sister but didn't know she was his sister.
Right.
So we had like a kind of weird incest thing going on, but it was amazing. They were the cast and crew of Emmerdale are, yeah, they're just the best. They really are. The scripts were great. They were so welcoming to me. I loved the whole experience of driving in the morning, and Emmerdale's set on a private estate. It's on a private estate, the village, the Harewood estate in the middle of nowhere in Yorkshire. And you drive in, you drive down this sort of track, private gates. You wouldn't even know it was there. There's no signpost. And you come over the brow of this hill, and the Emmerdale village just opens up in front of you. And there's trees and hills and birds of prey flying around. I mean, it's just beautiful. And from a cinematography point of view, you can point your camera in any direction and it just looks beautiful. So yes, the hard work's done for you.
Yeah. Amazing. So James, if you could go back to 24-year-old James, and you've just been invited to come and play a part in Hollyoaks, with all this happened in the last 17 years, all this experience, all these great experiences you've had, all these amazing people that you've met, the highs and the lows, what would you say to 24-year-old James?
It's difficult. I don't like to live with regrets, but I do, if I'm being honest. I do have regrets. I didn't take myself too seriously. I didn't take myself seriously enough. I partied too hard. I feel like I wasted a lot of time. My actual work on the show and on Emmerdale, I think, stands up. I think I've done a pretty good job professionally. My issue is privately. I spent far too long, as I say, not taking care of myself, drinking and other untoward things that I shouldn't have done. And I do feel like I wasted a lot of time. And I have a kind of ongoing, battle with myself to not put too much pressure on myself. I feel like I'm making up for lost time now. And if I could go back and speak to the 24-year-old me, I'd give him a bit of a slap and say, be a bit more responsible with, first of all, with your money, second of all, with your health, because I have always suffered with anxiety. I've had panic attacks before. I haven't had one for a long time. Partly because I self-medicated throughout a lot of that. And I'm still kind of dealing with the fallout from that now, even though I'm teetotal now and I lead quite a clean life, I think, for the most part. I feel like I'm playing catch up, and I wish I'd have taken myself a bit more seriously then and appreciated the opportunity that I'd been given. Sorry, that was a bit darker than we probably thought it was going to be.
No. This is what the podcast is all about, man. Yeah. It's about being open and transparent and honest. Exactly. And I thank you for being so transparent and open and honest, because the podcast was founded to bring fascinating people on like yourself to share your life journey, your life story, in the hope that somebody listening might be at that 24-year-old James point, might be about to experience all these amazing things, but could be led into certain temptations. And you sharing that raw, open and honest account of yourself could steer that person in the right direction.
I hope so.
So that's what it's all about, Matt.
I hope so. I'm not saying, I'm not saying I regret having fun, and I'm not saying I regret, the silliness and the trips that we took abroad, and, some of the money that I might have wasted or whatever. It's not about money, but I do wish that I'd have thought a bit further ahead. I was very much dealing with today, as opposed to having any idea that, in 15 years' time, I'd be sat here going, oh man, I wish I'd have taken myself a bit more seriously and not spent so much time hungover or whatever,
But then I suppose the events in your life have led you to this point, and now you've seemed smart. You've got the finances, the stocks and shares, and the crypto. You're now doing the necessary things, and I think life is a whirlwind of shit, It's about navigating your way through it and getting to where you are now, and the highs and the lows. And, you know, if you always fail forward and you learn from your mistakes, then you'll end up in a better place.
Yeah. I like who I am today. I like who I am right now. I like what I'm about. I like my mindset. I treat my body and my brain with a lot more care and attention than I ever have. And I'm doing everything I can every day to be happy, to enjoy what I'm doing. And it's a battle. It's a battle because, as I say, I do have a side of me that feels pressure and feels like I'm behind where I should be, given the riches of not riches financially,
Sure.
but the wealth that I've experienced in my career. You know, the exciting things I've done, the places I've travelled. You know, it's a battle to kind of deal with, put that pressure to one side and trust that I'm doing the right thing every day and I'm moving in the right direction, and to just find the joy and the happiness in every day. That's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I hope that anyone listening will take from this is, you know, you've got to take yourself seriously, but not too seriously. It's a fine line. I'm not a professional. I'm just winging it. We're all making it up as we go along.
You're not wrong, mate. 1,000,000%. That's one thing I say every day. People ask me for advice sometimes, and I'll say, mate, I'm just winging it.
Yeah, none of us have got a fucking clue, have we?
No, we're just making it up as we go along, making mistakes every day. But
Absolutely.
just enjoying the journey.
Enjoying the journey. That's what it's about,
Yeah,
man.
enjoying the journey.
Enjoying the journey.
What's next for James?
What's next for James? Still on Hollyoaks, which is great. Just signed another year, so I'm going to be there for till January 2026. Are we in 2025?
We are, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to be there till January 26th. I'm now a regular panelist on the Jeremy Vine show on Channel 5, which I'm really enjoying. Love talking about current affairs, love politics, love all that. So if you tune in if you want to hear me talking wham about all kinds of stuff. Doing my podcast, of which you're going to be a guest very, very soon, which I'm really looking forward to.
Me too.
So that'd be really great to find out about you, reverse the roles.
Yeah,
so
excited.
yeah, pushing that. Yeah, pushing that, and I think, yeah, as I said, I think just trying to be happy, just doing things that make me happy in a really productive, worthwhile way. That's what I want for the future. Beyond that, who knows?
Would you say that you are happy?
Right now, yeah. Yeah, right now I am, yeah.
I can see it. I can see the energy.
Yeah. It's taken a long time. It's been a process. It's been a real process. But I got up, as I say, I got up this morning, I was, excited about the day, jumped out of bed and got in the car and came here, and I'm going to go back and have a conversation with someone else. And, I'm finding the joy every day, and I don't think you can really ask for much more than that.
James, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Cheers, mate.